You're exhausted, but you can't quite explain why. You sleep but never rest. You work, but feel no fulfillment. You smile but don't feel present. The brutal truth? You're not living your life. You're playing a role that was written for you long before you had a voice. And now every step feels like a duty. Every choice, guilt, every silence, a quiet scream you swallowed for too long. This video isn't self-help. It's interruption. A class you were never offered. A mirror that won't lie. If you had the courage to click, you'll need the courage to confront. Because here, you'll see clearly who's really been making your choices, and realize that living someone else's life comes at a price, the slow death of self. But I chose this path. You repeat, maybe for years. But who defined what was right for you? Who drew that map? Who shaped your dreams, your fears, your definition of success? The autonomy you think you have is often just internalized obedience, dressed up as conscious decision-making. Imagine living 20, 30, 50 years, and only then realizing you were never the one behind the wheel. It was your father's dreams, your mother's expectations, your religion's morals, your culture's definitions. You memorized a script that never belonged to your essence. That's not a life. That's a role. We live in an era where authenticity has become performance. Even rebellion is branded now, but there's a fatigue no trip, no gratitude journal, no therapist can fix. It's the ache of never having met yourself. And somewhere inside, you know it. I lived for others. I was the ideal son, the dependable friend, the successful mask, and I almost died trying to sustain versions of me that betrayed who I was. This video is what I needed when I still confused obedience with love. If it makes you uncomfortable, good. That means it found the right place. From childhood, you were praised for being what others wanted. Such a good kid. Makes us proud. This one's going far. And slowly, you learned to smile when you wanted to scream. To say yes when your body was begging for no. Each compliment for obedience trained you to believe that your real self was dangerous. Childhood became emotional training camp. You learned that love was conditional, that attention was a reward for playing the part, that your wildness was risky, and being loved required performance. Authenticity was traded for acceptance, freedom for expectation. Before you knew it, you didn't know what you wanted, only what was expected. School deepened the programming. The ideal student followed the script, scored high, never disrupted. You learned that questioning brought tension, that failure brought shame, that being different meant isolation. So you adapted. You became what the system applauded: functional, predictable, compliant. At home, emotional blackmail ran silently through the walls. After all I've done for you, are you trying to break my heart? You wouldn't even exist without your father. These lines became invisible chains, pulling you back every time you tried to choose yourself. Guilt became the leash, and fear of disappointing became your prison. Religion completed the formula. To want was sin, to question was arrogance, to enjoy was dangerous. You were taught to live on mute, to repress desire in the name of righteousness. And now, you walk the world like someone constantly paying a debt, to family, to God, to society. And just like that, your life was outsourced. You got lost trying to be the perfect child, the respected professional, the balanced partner. You built so many versions of yourself that you no longer know which one is real. You wake up with a subtle disconnection, like someone else crafted your life. And in many ways, someone did. The exhaustion isn't from tasks. It's from sustaining a version of you that was never yours. Each choice you made to please others left a trail of your true self behind. A friendship you kept out of fear. A career you pursued to avoid disappointment. A relationship where you pretended not to feel. Now, all those versions live inside you like voices in conflict. None are fully you, but all scream at once. The silence you crave isn't lack of noise. It's lack of interference. Carl Jung said the shadow isn't evil. It's what we repress to be loved. Your rage, your boldness, your creative fire, locked in your emotional basement. And now it leaks as anxiety, insomnia, impulsiveness, or numbness. You're not broken. You're fragmented, caught between your soul and the script you were forced to memorize. You smile, but something feels missing. You stay busy, but never fulfilled. You search for answers to a question you've forgotten how to ask. Who am I when no one is watching? That question scares you, because the answer demands demolition, and you fear what's left after the collapse. But what you call a breakdown is actually reintegration. Identity crisis is your soul's refusal to keep pretending. The discomfort is labor. The anxiety is transition. And the darkness is where your real self starts to rise again. You think you're free because you can choose your coffee or your phone upgrade, but none of those choices touch your soul. Where it matters, who you love, how you spend time, what you tolerate, you're still obeying. Your decisions are scripts written by others, and the void you feel isn't from failure, it's from success in a life that isn't yours. The system doesn't want you to find yourself, it wants you distracted. That's why everything becomes a show, even your pain, even your confusion. You're sold courses to rediscover your purpose that only give you more personas to perform. False freedom is the golden cage where you choose the soundtrack to your own captivity. You work to sustain a life you didn't choose. You buy things to maintain an image that doesn't reflect you. You stay in relationships where you're unseen just because it's familiar. And when you try to break the pattern, guilt shows up. Because you were trained to call obedience love, repetition security, and suffocation stability. The self-help world tells you you can do anything, but it never teaches you to discern what's actually yours. It gives you more goals, more rituals, more challenges. And you, already exhausted, accept anything that sounds like freedom. But if it comes with a manual, it's just another mask. The emptiness you feel isn't from lack of achievement. It's from an overdose of lies. Your soul is starving for authorship. And as long as you keep outsourcing your life, every victory will feel like a performance. Because living someone else's dream successfully is still failure. Reconstruction begins the moment you stop asking for permission to exist. When you realize you owe no one an explanation for choosing to be whole. This isn't rebellion. It's recovery. It's not selfishness. It's sanity. When you say no more to the borrowed life, something sacred shifts inside. True rupture doesn't come with drama. It comes with brutal silences. When you cancel that draining dinner. When you say no without apology. When you unfollow roles you never chose. Every act of symbolic disobedience is a vote for your soul. You'll lose connections. You'll disappoint those who only loved your mask. You'll be told you've changed, and you have. You stopped bargaining with your peace. You stopped trading yourself for approval. And to the emotional system that raised you, that's betrayal. But something new is born. The ability to hear yourself clearly, to feel without shame, to want without guilt. Viktor Frankl said humans don't seek pleasure or success. We seek meaning. And meaning only appears when you start writing your own story. Even if the first chapter is made of exits, you'll walk alone for a while. No applause, no guide, no map. But in that silence, something ancient will reemerge. Your voice, the one that was buried beneath everyone else's noise. And when it speaks again, you don't just live. You inhabit your own name. One day you wake up and realize you no longer need an audience. No more applause, no more justifying, no more performance. Just stillness, just presence, just truth. You don't want approval anymore. You want breath. You want to exist, unapologetically. You begin to hear yourself with reverence. Choose with the body. Walk away from what shrinks you, even when it hurts. You discover that peace isn't the absence of chaos outside, but the absence of self-betrayal inside. Being true to yourself has a price, but betraying yourself costs far more. For the first time, your life starts to make sense. Not because it's easy, but because it's finally yours. You know the path is right not because it's perfect, but because it's you walking it. The ground responds. Intuition awakens. The soul exhales. The old voices try to pull you back. You've changed. You're not the same. And they're right. You've died to the version of you that lived to please. You've renounced the perfect child, the overachiever, the people pleaser. And now, reborn, you don't need to prove anything. You just need to be. If this video felt like the class you never had, but always needed, comment below. I return what was never mine. Today, I sign my life in my own name. That will be your silent revolution.